Hello, my valued viewer, and welcome to another Terraria challenge video. This time we're doing For the Worthy on Legendary mode. I'll explain what that means in a second, but last challenge we did hardcore, and we used mostly melee and ranged. Actually, entirely melee and ranged. So this time we're going to change it up and do just mage and summoner, and because I've never done a summoner playthrough, I'm probably just going to do summoner for most this time. In fact, that's what I do for at least pre-hard mode. That's right, this is a two-parter, and I'm just going to say that right away so that you don't get annoyed if I don't say it later. Anyway, I'm going to quickly explain what For the Worthy and Legendary mode all means. So if you want to skip to this timestamp that future me puts up, then go to that if you want to get to the actual gameplay. But so For the Worthy is a special seed in Terraria. When you create a character and world, there's several things that you have to choose with the settings. So with a character, you can choose classic, medium core, or hardcore. Hardcore deletes the character upon death. Medium core, you drop all your items. And classic, you just drop coins. So just choose classic. Just choose classic, please. Especially if you're new to the game. You can also choose in the world settings your seed, world evil, and your difficulty. For this, we're doing For the Worthy as a seed. It changes a lot of things with the game. There's a lot of random seeds. They don't really matter too much, but the settings are changed for the game for the Worthy. We'll talk about the effects later. Then you choose the World Evil. We randomized it, but we got the Crimson, which is my favorite, and although a lot of people say it's actually worse for the Summoner, it's actually better for every single class in the game for several reasons. And we'll talk about that a little bit later. Yeah, I know the difference between Raisin and Wrath Potions, and I know that summons can't crit, but who cares? Let's get into the difficulty, because it's the big thing. When you choose a difficulty, and choose For the Worthy seed is increased to the next difficulty up, including the secret legendary mode right here. I have a couple stats to explain what changes here real quick, and hopefully this is simple enough. So between classic, expert, master, and legendary, let's just correlate a number with each one, with the difficulty number for classic being 1, expert 2, master 3, and 4 for legendary. If you choose master mode, it'll turn into legendary. If you do For the Worthy, and blah blah blah, you get it. When you do classic mode, everything's normal. Expert adds new moves for pretty much everything, including phases for certain bosses. So it's very cool mode. You also get an extra accessory slot in hard mode, and you get a new accessory that drops from every boss. Very cool mode, the best in the game. Master mode adds pretty much nothing, but you get a new accessory slot and the difficulty scaling. Legendary just does difficulty scaling as well, but now I'm going to actually explain what that means. So those numbers that I talked about before, where classic would be 1, expert 2, master 3, and so on, you can calculate health damage and stuff like that based off of that. So with classic mode, enemy health will just be their normal health, but you multiply it by the difficulty number for each difficulty. So between classic mode and expert mode, if an enemy normally has 4 health, it gets 8 health in expert, then 12 in master, 16 in legendary. So as you can see very quickly, if you look down this list and throughout the whole chart, you can see that the biggest difficulty jump is from classic to expert, where you essentially double the health and damage of everything. We'll get to that later, but health and damage is they're calculated the same way, where it is the normal damage times the difficulty number for each enemy. So scaling gets really ridiculous when you jump from, say, expert to legendary. But there's also contact damage multipliers. So in For the Worthy, the contact damage is multiplied on top of the normal damage by 33 to 50%, depending on how you calculate things, and there's a defense as well. I'm not going to go into that much. I'm a nerd, but not a geek. There's a difference. A geek is unnecessary. So it's another 33%. If you really want to learn those numbers, just look there. It rounds up. That's why it looks weird. Or rounds to the nearest integer. But there's also a defense modifier for each difficulty mode. So the defense modifier for classic would be 50% of defense, going to damage negation. There's two stats there's a stat in the game called damage reduction, which is just a percentage-based thing. So the Worm Scarf, for example, reduces damage by 17%. After the rest of the calculation, it just takes off 17% of the damage. Crazy. Defense is calculated earlier, where it just negates some of the damage. So if you have 4 defense, which is the same as having a warding modifier on accessory, you get 4 defense. In classic mode, that would be the equivalent of 2 damage negation, we'll call it. And in expert mode, 75% of that same 4 would be 3. So you actually get more value for your defense as the difficulty scales up, to where master is just very, very simple and gives you 100% damage reduction. And so there's a little bit of compensation for the difficulty scaling as you go on, with getting extra accessory slots and also the defense modifier. The enemies are also affected by this defense modifier as well, but they don't get extra defense per thing. It's just they get that same modifier as you do. You get more opportunity for defense though, because you get more accessory slots. But you see, Legendary mode doesn't care about that. You also get 100% for the defense modifier. In fact, the difference between Legendary and Master mode is just that it increases the enemy statistics. It's just ridiculous. There's a lot of other effects as well, but the first and most blatant one is just it increases the difficulty by 1, giving you nothing in return. There's no extra accessory slot, there's no extra accessories to access, and there are red potions, but nobody cares about those. There are quite a few effects for the worthy, which I'll talk about later, but that's the basic gist. Let's just get into the video. So we immediately make a sword and definitely don't die to slimes immediately. We make some forest housing, and then notice one of the first effects of For the Worthy. Actually a lot of the water in this world is replaced with lava at every level. Yay, fun. Actually, it will be kind of cool later. I'll use that to my advantage. Spoilers, ooh, ah. We then find a desert temple really quickly, because to the left we have the desert, and we find the magic carpet, one of my favorite early game accessories. It does exactly what you think it does. We find a bunch of silver to make some silver armor, and we make an iron pickaxe so that we can get rid of that range reduction from the starting pickaxe of the game. We then find some climbing claws and find enough topaz to make a hook. Hooks are insane in this game, and you should always have a hook with every character. They have just amazing mobility for literally no penalty. I then think to blow up some obsidian that was made naturally from the world with some bombs in order to make an obsidian skull. And I also find a magic mirror nearby. But an obsidian skull gives an easy +1 defense early, and also immunity to fire blocks, which won't really matter yet. But regardless, we go, and underneath one of the trees on the right, we end up encountering a glowing mushroom biome, finding the skeleton merchant, which apparently sells the wand of sparking. Cool, because I want to start off with mage. And then we find the extractinator, which is going to be useless, and some life crystals from this early glowing mushroom biome. I then die to the blood moon for 10 minutes straight. There's nothing more to that. It is delicious. Silver chainmail, I guess. No. Afterwards, I wallow in shame and despair and build some desert housing. I then go into the Crimson. Oh, I die in the Crimson, actually. Alright, I run away from the Crimson and make a Wand of Frosting, which is the improved version of the Wand of Sparking, which allows me to inflict the Frostburn effect on enemies. Very good debuff. I won't use it much, and it's not that good of a weapon, actually. I then go back to the Crimson. Oh, I die. Never mind. I then go back to the Crimson and get the Undertaker, and then run away immediately because I was gonna die. Now, the Undertaker allows me to get the arms dealer, which is useless for this run, but, I gotta take what I can get. We then find, a little bit of platinum, because as difficulty increases, all the loot generation also increases, so chests, ore, everything. So platinum is all over in this world, the same with iron and all the other substances. I then start making a gemstone setup with gem trees. What are they called? Gemcorns? I don't care. I start making those. I then encounter the Goblin Army. Not sponsored, by the way. But Dunkin' is better than Starbucks. You get more for less, and the iced coffees are objectively better, at the very least. And the situational Dunkins or Starbuckses that are like Starbuckses. I'm Pentecostal. Somebody interpret. Okay, we got one this life. Okay. Okay. That kind of sucks. Let's kill these guys first. Get them! Comboed! Take that. That was all planned, by the way. All planned. Now, Graveyard increases spawn rates, but I don't know if it actually switches enemies. Okay. Good trade, good trade. Get him, yeah. Yes! 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 Look at this thrilling gameplay. Okay. Oh wait, yeah, lava exists. Hold up. Might have to bring out my secret weapon here. Oh no, you fell in the lava. You're dead. Oh no. Oh crap. Wait, hold up. That's a lot of damage. That guy's gonna die. That gave another extra hit. So. Okay. And already dead again. Yes. We're kind of alive. Look at that. Look at that. That's a brilliant trade. We got another like 5% off of that one life alone. Take that. Yep. Alright, that's fine. We got our... Where's our buckets? Alright. Break one of those. Alright, juke him. See, this is fine now. This is manageable. By manageable, I mean, like, slightly less irritating. Because I'm actually making progress. Okay. And this might be it. Those archers might just be the end. And never mind. They all kind of avoided everything. Alright. These sorcerers might just be the end. Look at that. What did I tell you? Give me... Okay. And they all just... They're completely demoralized from how powerful my character is. I mean... How do you even go against this? How do you even go against this? It's like the power of God in anime right there. After finally defeating the goblins, we go to the jungle and find the fiberglass rod and some other garbage. I then go back to my finished Gemopoly, which is now, you know, gotten me some of that good income, that compound interest from all this time. I then find the Goblin Tinkerer and make a diamond staff. The Goblin Tinkerer will be good later, and the Diamond Staff will never really be good, but I'll use it anyway because I still think I'm doing Mage, but I'm not actually. I then make some jungle housing because why not? Then I take some flinxes for a swim. I can use the lava to my advantage and just kill them because the flinx fur still remains after they die, even though it's in lava. Don't ask me to explain it. I didn't make the game. I then make the Flink staff and coat, and this is when I pretty much decide to just go summoner. I mean, I got a good summon now, and having the coat is the best armor I've got. I then find water walking boots and Hermes boots, which will be good for the Terra Spark boots much, much later. And I want to get those as fast as possible to free up some extra accessory slots. I then reforge pretty much everything for extra defense. And then I do the Jungle Flinks mix to fully pivot to Summoner. After displaying my professional summoning abilities, I get the Aglet of the Wind and buy the Artisan Loaf also from the Skeleton Merchant, who's pretty much carried this entire game. And then I make the Snap Thorn, an amazing whip that poisons enemies and will be our weapon of choice for a very long time, as there's only 3 whips in pre-hard mode, and this is the second best. It also adds a buff that increases melee speed whenever you attack, or I guess it's whip speed, but who cares? That won't really be important, but it's cool to note. After receiving kind advice from the bees, I take down the Eye of Cthulhu. I do note that as I'm going through the fight, using Abigail's Flower was not the play. I tried that at the beginning, but then I switched to the Flinx Staff, as Flinxes have an active hitbox even while they're flying back to you. What else is there to say? I mostly just whip the Eye to death. I don't actually notice it in the gameplay, but the gimmick of the Eye of Cthulhu is that it summons more Servants of Cthulhu, but because the whip, range is so big, it just doesn't matter. I just kill most of them right away. The Eye of Cthulhu goes down in one try. Take those. I then make some ocean housing, which will be useful later. Trust me, it did save a lot of time. I then find the Staff of Regrowth, which can be used to make the best axe in the game, which is the Axe of Regrowth. Ooh, creative name. And then I find the Feral Claws. Now, the Staff of Regrowth is good because it helps you with herb farms, but the Feral Claws are amazing for the Summoner. It allows auto swing without cheating, and increases melee speed by 12%. Now, since you're a Summoner, you usually just get affected by summon damage, summon whatever stat it is, but summon speed doesn't exist. Summon crit chance doesn't exist. It has to be its own unique thing. Yes, summons cannot crit. The whips can, though, so that's cool. But, yeah, the Feral Claws do impact whips for melee speed, though. That is one of the few stats that they do take from melee, is just the speed and auto swing. Everything else is summon, so summon damage. I do find a Tim for the wizard hat, but who cares about that? And then I find the lava charm in a chest. One of the harder accessories to get, in my opinion, without just farming bats and then shimmering the magma stone, but that's cool. I don't find that often. Then I make some underground housing near the underworld, which is always useful in my opinion, and in this run, it will be especially useful. I then find the stylist and immediately die, but that's fine. I guess the stylist survived, I guess. Whatever. And then I get the ForTheWorthy Underworld experience. Oh, please. I hate my life. Well, I'm already dead. Now, while there's a bunch of goofy effects in ForTheWorthy, and a lot of which I didn't mention, such as hitting trees and pots, spawning bombs at random, some of the normal enemies are also influenced as well. For example, bunnies have a 1 in 3 or 2 in 3 chance to just become exploding bunnies, which will one-shot you for the first bit of the game. I mean, at this point in the game, they're not as much as a threat, but without defense, you instantly die. There is an explosion damage reduction in ForTheWorthy as well, so you can't cheese all these bosses with explosives, I don't think. Maybe like the Eater of Worlds, but who cares? For the Underworld, there's a fun little thing called Voodoo Demons. 2/3 of, or maybe more actually, but 2/3 of all normal demons will just become voodoo demons instead when they spawn, as well as just having the normal voodoo demons that spawn. And so it just makes your life incredibly more difficult, as you have to make sure you don't randomly summon the Wall of Flesh, which will happen quite often. I just won't show it out of embarrassment. Yay! I then fight through a blood moon and get the shark tooth necklace, which is a really, really good item for any class, allowing you to have 5 armor piercing just neutrally. And I finish my first angler quest, which will be not really important, but I do a lot of them this run. I'll tell you how many I do by the end. That is the one Steam achievement I don't have on this game yet. But trust me, I'm really close now. I'm really close now. I then do another blood moon and get nothing because yes, blood moons are what I want now. And then I initiate what I call the grind phase because I wanted something from the blood moon. You probably know what it is if you've ever played Summoner or this game before. Now in the grind phase, we have a lot of things to do. First, we make infinite herb farms, including Daybloom and Blinkroot near the ocean. Daybloom blooms today. Blinkroot just kind of blooms. And then I get immediately interrupted by the King Slime, so who cares about the grind phase anymore? I mean, what the? That can happen? What is this? What is going on? How's that supposed to be fair? Now, again, I don't notice that this boss has a gimmick. Now, this gimmick is also kind of dumb. It's just he's massive. Now, I did get confused at why he was so massive, but I didn't really register that he was so massive. I thought he might be slightly bigger, but he goes down pretty easily. I mean, I do take some damage, but whatever. After the King Slime, I immediately bomb down and find the Shimmer extremely quickly, which was pretty lucky, and I get the normal buffs. You get the Peddler Saddle for an extra slot for the Traveling Merchant, the Arcane Crystal for extra mana regen, Vital Crystal for normal health regen, and Ambrosia for building buffs as well. I then go back to the Crimson to get the Crimson Rod, a great sidearm to have. It just spawns a cloud that shoots blood rain that hits enemies. Very cool. I then go through another worthless blood moon. Yay. I buy some strange brew because it said something about iframes, but it didn't really work for me, so don't worry about that. I'll just die a lot later to it and then just never show you. I then go through another blood moon, but this time I actually get something. After grinding all these zombie mermen, they finally drop the vampire frog staff. Vampire frogs are the best summon in pre-hard mode. Yeah, it's not the fire imps. It's not the stupid bees that nobody uses. It is definitely the vampire frogs. We'll talk about that later, and yes, I will prove my point. I then go back to the Brain of Cthulhu, not to actually beat it, but to cheese it and just kill some of the creepers. By that I mean it was completely accidental, and I forgot you could do that. See, you can just kill the creepers, which is kind of the first phase of the Brain of Cthulhu, and you just get some, like, you get, oh crap, I can't remember what it's called. Okay, I get tissue sample. It's tissue sample. I get the tissue sample, and I make some obsidian armor. And now obsidian armor is the best summon armor for pre-hard mode. It has some decent defense and allows you to summon 2 extra minions. So now we have a total of 3. Yay! Then I make a Deathbringer pickaxe, which I won't use, but I can mine like everything in pre-hard mode now, I guess. And then, after literally grinding through all of the world, all of the stupid snow, ice biome, whatever you want to call it, it's like the last chest in the world. I get the ice skates. Yeah, that's right. I didn't forget about the Terra Spark boots, and I've been grinding for some of these for like the entire game. I've been grinding for these components for a very long time. The stupid ice skates, I finally find them and get half the Terra Spark boots down with the Frost Spark boots. Then I start grinding for the whatever it's called, the Fire Flower, Obsidian Rose. That's what it is. I don't care. You see, it's literally an hour. I just keep dying and dying, and I finally changed the Obsidian Water Walking boots into the Molten Skull so I can survive in the lava a little bit. Of course, that has trade-offs, but you know, whatever. After another hour or two, I honestly lost track of time now. I go back to my herb farms making Moonglow and Deathweed in this grind phase. So Moonglow blooms at night. Day blooms at day. Blink root just blinks on and off, I guess. Deathweed blooms on the full moon or blood moon. So I just have infinite herbs now. Very cool. Now I grinded to the point where I had like 3 or so death sickles. I think I actually had more, but who cares? Um, but the important thing is that I make an imp staff because after another hour I still get no obsidian rose. I literally just have infinite deathweed now. Yay. After another hour and a half in literal purgatory, this happens. Maybe the Catholics are right about purgatory. Maybe I died yesterday. This is within the realm of possibility. Get him. Yes! Yes! Enough of that, never again. Except they'll probably do it again several times. No. Why? Whatever. I don't care. 111. Now I do show my bestiary there for a second. I killed on the 111th imp. It actually dropped the thing, which means and none of them fell in lava. I did make sure of that. Like I played very carefully the entire time. I even watched back some of it just in case I had accidentally dropped one in lava. Because yes, I was that like self-conscious about this. But no, none of them. No. 110 did not drop it. And they have a 1 in 20%. It's a 1 in 20 chance of dropping it. They should have just dropped it. They should have dropped it. It was like a 0.3% chance of this happening 110 consecutive times. 0.35 actually. I have it written down. Yeah, that's right. I do that math. I finish up my herb farms with the whatever the snow one's called that nobody cares about, and the water leaf one that nobody uses. Then I refight. I'm not editing that out. The Brain of Cthulhu. Now, it does take me a couple tries, but I do beat the Brain of Cthulhu. Its gimmick was pretty obvious. It flips you upside down. You can only use platforms, hooks, or flight to stop it. Or, you can't use platforms. You have to use solid blocks. Sorry. Whatever. Not editing that either. Now, this is a really important boss kill. Not because I can use any of the stupid tissue sample, because I can't anymore, but because it drops one of the best accessories in the game, being the Brain of Confusion. Now, as opposed to the counterpart from the Corruption, the Worm Scarf, which drops from the Eater of Worlds, gives you damage reduction. It gives you 17% damage reduction. It's 1/6, but rounded up because, yay, rounding. Now, that seems extremely good, which it is, but what's better than, reducing damage? I don't know. Avoiding it all. Yeah, that's right, the Brain of Confusion. Compared to the Worm Scarf, it has a 1 in 6 dodge chance, and then the Worm Scarf just has a 1/6 damage reduction, which is rounded up to 117. But you see why the Brain of Confusion is so much better for real is because of that "and" that I just dramatically paused for. "And" stands for another nasty debuff. You see, another nasty debuff really just means that you add another nasty debuff to your arsenal, putting confusion on enemies when you do dodge. But also, you add another nasty debuff to yourself. You see, this nasty debuff is nasty, but not for you. It's called Cerebral Mind Trick, which lasts for like 3 to 5 seconds. I think it's within that range. It varies a little bit, because why not add more RNG? What Cerebral Mind Trick does is that it deactivates the ability to dodge, since being able to dodge all the time would be kind of busted. But it deactivates the dodge chance, but it adds 10% crit chance. Now, you may recall that summons cannot crit. And you see the creators of the game were very epic and accounted for that by adding 10% increased summon damage, despite it not actually saying that. So, Your whip actually benefits from both of those, adding plus 10% damage and plus 10% crit chance. Your summons also get plus 10% damage as well, and that's just really good. You have a ton of buffs now for, even though it's just 3.5 seconds, you also reduce damage on average by 1/6 as well. So that's very good, especially considering this is one of like the 2 or 3 ways to actually dodge in the game, and for the brain of or not the brain of confusion is good. For the worm scarf, damage reduction, there's actually quite a few ways to do that, including the endurance potion, and that's multiplicative, which just means it has diminishing rewards. So yeah, the brain of confusion is pretty good. We then go to the desert for some bass statues, which increases your defense by 5 when you're nearby them. Very good for arenas. We make some tundra. Wait, now we make tundra housing? Look, we didn't proofread our notes. Whatever. We then go into the underground jungle to get some variegated lardfish, or however you pronounce that. The green ones you fish underground, yay! And we make some summoner potions, just allowing you to increase your summons by 1. It's not too crazy in the description, but it's very good for the summoner. And pretty much everything else. We then make a Queen Bee arena and decide to fight Skeletron instead, because why not? Now, I do beat Skeletron in 1 try, but I do start to see the pattern with this world, that everything has gimmicks. As I fight Skeletron, I realize multiple things. First off, Dark Casters start to spawn throughout the fight, and I think it can get to a max of 6, actually. But it gets worse. Those Dark Casters that are ranged enemies, they shoot like water bolts at you, or whatever they're called. You can't block the water bolts. They have unique water bolts. Welcome to ForTheWorthy Legendary. But Skeletron also has a special gimmick as well, because why have 1 gimmick when you can have 2? You see, Skeletron will also block all projectiles when they're shot at the main head if there are hands left. I only noticed that everything was getting reflected back at me and got hit by my own shots. So I then switched to the Vampire Frogs, which deal melee, or they are melee, I guess, but they do summon damage, but they just kind of beat up on Skeletron, and I never switched back, and we beat Skeletron in 1 try. After adjusting to the mechanics and beating him in 1 try, we go down into the dungeon, and then immediately get the Cobalt Shield, which is kind of lucky. That just negates knockback. We won't actually use it for a while, but it's worth noting. We also find the Nazar, which we won't use. Gives you immunity to Curse. But then we get the Bewitching Table, one of our favorite items, as it just increases your max minions by 1. Very, very, very cool. And that's until you die, and then you can just use it again. So infinite uses. And using the bones from the dungeon, we can also make the Spinal Tap the best whip for pretty hard mode, at least damage-wise. I don't think there's actually a buff that goes along with it, but it just deals a lot of damage, has good range, and not a very big multi-hit penalty. All these whips do have multi-hit penalties, but this one is very good for crowd control, which will be important for the definitely not at all foreshadowed big boss man that's coming up and is going to be in my nightmares for a while. Because I wanted to actually succeed at something, I go and fight the Queen Bee. Now, the Queen Bee is extremely easy, not even really worth mentioning. She's just slightly bigger, and I don't know if there's another mechanic because I just kind of beat her. She drops the bee gun, which I'll use for a bit, which is kind of dumb, honestly. And then she also drops the honeycomb, which is pretty lucky. The honeycomb can be combined with the shark tooth necklace to make the stinger necklace, which just has that armor penetration from earlier, but also applies the honey buff to you and summons bees when you get hit. Both those have to be when you get hit, by the way. Now, I build a huge stone platform at the underworld like I usually do, because those don't melt from the lava slimes. Lava, because if you kill them, they summon lava. Ooh, crazy. And then I just immediately die. I had no shot. I mean, I guess I survived for a little bit. I was trying like bob and weave, and even the Brain of Confusion helped me a little bit, but unfortunately, the wall of flesh is a bit crazy, and I do take note of the massive, massive amount of challenges that the wall of flesh presents. I learned the gimmick of fire imps, which also have the same unblockable projectiles as the dark casters from earlier, but buffed because they're fire imps, I guess. It also is annoying because the Wall of Flesh chose the same class as us. That's right. It summoned massive versions of the Hungry, and it just keeps doing that. And all enemies have insane contact damage, like mentioned earlier, and they just decide to kill you because why not? Whatever. There's another big gimmick I know I had to deal with, which is of course the speed of the wall. The wall of flesh has a speed gimmick, which is it's normal. It is just its normal thing. That's usually the gimmick of the boss. Big wall coming at you. If you get hit by it, like contact wise, you get flung and you start getting beat up, and it sucks. And it goes faster as it gets lower HP. In higher difficulties, it gets more and more insane. And in legendary mode, it gets more and more and more and more insane. So I start preparing a little bit. I get the mechanics rod, which is just a better fishing rod. I just wanted to mention that. I think it's a good item to get. I also mine up that meteorite that I didn't mention earlier, but I'll make meteor armor in a bit, I guess. I kill two queen bees to prepare for a strategy I want to do. I make bee armor, which will be useless. I will never touch it again. I make meteor armor, like I said before, and then I make the diamond robe and the wizard hat that I got from Tim. And wearing those is the wizard set. It gives you an extra magic damage boost. And I use the meteor leggings, which I kind of use to formulate the bee strat. Now, the bee strat is something that was a thing back in the day where you'd like throw bee nades at the wall of flesh and it'd do good. That was my idea, except with the bee gun as well. So I made what I also called the L strat. And I made a bunch of like L-shaped things at the bottom of the underworld so that it would stop the grenades, hopefully shoot the bees at the wall of flesh, and the lava would also be able to filter through as well. But spoiler alert, I'm stupid. That doesn't work. The bees do almost no damage. I missed a lot of the nades, but the speed and especially the speed of the eyes just beams me down. So I go back to upgrading, and I decide to pretty much abandon the bee strat at this point. I wanted to do it for the funnies, but now we're going to the old one's army for once, because they drop an item that you can use. The apprentice scarf is a unique item. Actually, it's the most not unique item, but the apprentice scarf and its variants give plus 10 summon damage and an extra sentry slot. And then I also get the flame burst rod so that I can beat the old one's army. Because after you beat the old one's army, regardless of how many waves there are, you can actually use the sentries outside of it. And sentries are also good because they do summon damage. Ooh ah. And we can actually use this in this playthrough. Very, very cool. Now, you may be wondering, why am I not using the Squire's Shield and like the other summoner items that are dropped from the Dark Mage and the big ogre thing that doesn't actually appear till hard mode? I don't use them because those abilities don't stack. They actually count as the same exact accessory, except they waste a slot. That's really dumb, but it could be absolutely broken if you were able to stack those. So that's why I don't use multiple of those. Don't mention it again. What? I thought that was hard mode. I'm actually dumb. But I guess I know for next time. There might not be a next time. Now I pivot to what I call the Mound strat. Now, my idea here is to still use that build below, but to block the beams from the bottom eye. Because now we're thinking. And I want to use the top mounds to try and guide the wall of flesh, because you can do that with blocks. And the mounds will hopefully give you a little bit of cover for the top eyes. Because of the speed, I also make a lot of tracks and make some of them booster tracks so that shortly after the mound, if the wall of flesh gets too close, I can just move over to the booster track and immediately go to 60 miles per hour. So that's what I do. No, it doesn't work. The bees do no damage as well because I still had hope in my heart. The bees don't work. It would have been funny. It would have been epic. But no, the bees did not work for me. So I abandoned the bees completely and go back to Summoner. Now, I also noticed another issue, and that's that, well, I need to actually address the gimmicks. Now the first gimmick is the fire imps. I need to take a little bit of that aggro away. So I make a dart trap at the bottom. I I test it out and it partially works, except they still have time to shoot me and teleport and stuff. So yeah. I use 3 dart traps then and put them on an interval so that they can then just endlessly shoot at the fire imps, and now they're dealt with. That's most of the imps and most of that one gimmick. So now there's only 2 to go, and one's not really a gimmick. I just call it a gimmick because it's a fun word to use. Now, for some reason, I tried another strategy, and that was removing the rail platform. Not the rail itself, but the platform, since imps seemed to spawn there. Unfortunately, this is a major flaw, as you just get lasered to death. I kind of had planned initially to just try and ram the fire imps as they spawned on the top with my speed, but because I slow down for the mounds, I can just get absolutely beamed by the imps, so that's just not smart. But no, neither is removing the platform, so I couldn't really do that. I then try a new strategy. I did remove the platform, but I use what I call the 2-tier terror strategy, because I'm hoping that these platforms will at least block one of the lasers, because I may be able to adjust to the other. Nope. I then upgrade my monkeys to double dart. Now the double dart upgrade is very good as it covers the top and bottom, but now it also blocks one of the beams no matter what. And then I really activate my brain cells and decide to make what is known as the triple tier terror strategy, which is to rebuild that platform that the rails were on. And now both of the beams might just be blocked. I might just have to deal with the hungry and the speed of the wall, and that that's it. I got rid of the gimmick. Like there's only the wall coming at me, and that this might be it. So I give it a little test. All right, we're gonna see if enemies spawn, and we're gonna see if the lasers are blocked. All right, here we go again. All right, let's see it. I forgot to activate the thing. I forgot to activate the trap. Alright. Now let's see how everything goes. I forgot it again! The triple tier terror strat. That's annoying. Do that. Throw that in. And forget instantly again. Yes, yes, yes. Alright, that's fine. Did that just spawn? I think that spawned. Alright, I'm not getting beamed out of existence. So that's something at least. Oh, nope, I'm gonna get beamed out of existence. But I can dodge them. Look at that. Now the plan seems to be working for the most part, and I decide to activate what I call the triple tier Mound Masher strategy. The plan is simple. Oh, you can do half and half. I didn't think of that before. Anyway, the plan is simple. I keep the triple tiers and the mounds, but I need to make more mounds. So I just need to like double up the mounds, because the lasers get blocked by the mounds. And if I keep them solid, the imps can't spawn on them. It seems like one of the imps spawned up here. Watching it back, they spawned up here, or down here perhaps, and then teleported up onto the platform. So that's why I encountered one earlier. I thought I got rid of most of the spaces they could spawn, but that's fine. After developing this absolutely genius strategy, I make ice for the last 600 or so blocks so that I'll have time to switch to the Terra Spark boots and my Shield of Cthulhu to dash and run on lava just in case I need to like enter panic mode. And then I decide to test my new strategy. Alright, time for another test. Very simple one. We're gonna test the new tunnel mountain strategy, the triple tower terror, triple. Just summon the boss. Summon. Go. All right. Oh right. At the beginning, these guys will not get hit well. Where does it track to though? These are also not the minions for the job, but it's working. Okay, it's working a little bit less well now. It's fine. So it gets guided up there for some reason. Alright, this is the end of my my strategy. It works pretty well though. Look at that, we've done some decent damage. That's a huge improvement. The mound blocks that eye pretty well, so I'll just keep with the mound strategy. And it's probably even better without the imps. 4. See how much damage we can do in this joke attempt. Look at that. Look at that. This is great. Alright, the eye's gonna... Oh, look. Whoa! What is this? Now this is beautiful. What is this? What a cheese. What a cheese. I am gonna run out of road here soon, but... Wow. I can beat it. I can actually beat it. What? Get him. No. Get him. Ah. I'm gonna win. It works. I didn't even have my equipment on. Where am I taking damage from? What am I taking damage from? Oh, the hungry. The lasers. Okay, okay, okay. I'll play it safe. Go back 2. No way. No way. No, no. is in cheese alignment. He is out of cheese alignment. Alright, here we go. Come on. Okay, panic mode. Yes! Oh, man. Yes, dude. I don't care. Get out of here. You're nothing. That took so long. Get him. Oh, it despawns there. That's funny. Oh, man. Dude. Oh, time for some RNG. Go! Yes! Dude. That's fine. I can shimmer that. Dude, wow. That is insanely good. And there we go. That was pretty hard mode for Terraria for the Worthy Legendary mode. Now, we did get another massive W, which is the fact that the Wall of Flesh dropped the Firecracker, which is only a 1 in 4 chance, but that's one of the summoner weapons to have right now. And having a whip is extremely good. There's only like 2 for the next section of the game. But the summoner is extremely busted. I think people definitely like undersell how powerful it is. It's very good class, very fun apart from like building stuff, and it's so obnoxious to build stuff. Uh don't even get me started on that, honestly. Yeah, that's right. Stop talking. You're getting me started on that. But we got the Firecracker. I'm pretty hyped to just finish it out. I think the next bit will go extremely smoothly. And I can't wait to see what other ridiculous garbage For the Worthy has for me, because it was kind of funny seeing like the weird gimmicks they had, like reflecting the projectiles and making me adapt. So very cool, very fun. I hope you enjoyed. Uh, we'll get to the next part in a while. It'll probably take forever. But thank you for watching. May God bless you today and forever. See ya.